So, this statement I made about the American Humanist Association, it didn't sit well with a lot of people, and I blame myself mostly because I didn't make myself clear, and I did possibly overlook some details. My point, however, I'm not satisfied that it has been falsified. Many details have been falsified, but I think I can pretty safely say that I'm being strawmanned. So let me restate what it was that I was trying to make a point of. Humanism is a principle of recognizing morality and ethics, things like that, are natural born traits. We humans have humanity, which would be an advancement of morality, a human born advancement of morality. One would argue, at least. My complaint was that the humanists did this. Humanists. I stated it before, but perhaps I wasn't clear. I didn't have a problem with it being taken down per se. Well, that's not entirely true. I have a rule that I personally live by, and so far I believe it to be a good rule. If it's not bothering anybody, like it's not causing any harm, it's not preventing anybody from gaining, it's not taking away from anybody, and it's personal. It's a person's personal endearments or ideals or beliefs or whatever. As long as nobody's getting hurt, who gives a fuck? Why should you give a fuck? Why would it be a problem? So this is a question of crosses on the roadside. I was needled down on the whole cross isn't Christian thing. Technically, no, it did not start off a Christian thing. But if I were to observe one of my basic rules of following the zeitgeist, which I do, somebody's point of the swastika would never fly as a Tibetan or Indian symbol, or Hindu symbol. I don't remember which. I know it was one of which is Indian. But it wouldn't fly as this old symbol. It's Nazis. So regardless of what it was historically, it is a Nazi symbol now and widely recognized as a Nazi symbol. Okay, fair point. Fair point. The cross is a Christian symbol. Me trying to needle it down to the pagans and to some old Chinese religion, irrelevant. Incidentally, the elongate, just FYI for people that like little tidbit facts, the elongation of the cross is actually a imitation of a dagger. Like the lengthiness of it, imitation of a dagger. I don't believe the Christians, alright, don't think the Christians had it in mind whenever they adopted it, but that is originally how it got its elongation. The bottom bar being longer. Tangent. My point is, that cross on the roadside, why is it a problem? Why is it a Let me rephrase that. Why is it a problem that requires legal addressing? Now, to my knowledge, I know that it's illegal to decorate the roadside with blah, blah, blah. I'm aware of this. Whether or not it's enforced is a different story. You see billboards for this, that, and another all the time. You see signs for, little placards that stick out of the ground all the time. You see all sorts of mess littering the roadside. And yes, in my opinion, the cross littering the roadside is just that, litter. But I'm not going to take the time to pull it out. It's not something that I really have to interact with. I'm going to drive by it. That's it. That is a full breadth of my interaction. So, having a problem with seeing a cross, I contend that is very much a personal problem. Even if it is a reasonable problem, it's still a personal problem. This is an appeal to emotion. Anecdotally, because some people reflect on, well, I had a bad religious experience. Okay, well, I didn't. I still left it. It was still bullshit, but I can't actually suggest that I had a bad religious experience. It was a very community-oriented, friendly thing when I was growing up. They didn't berate me about going to hell. They didn't berate me about any of that stuff. So I quite honestly fell out of religion because I grew up. So having a problem with it because you had a bad experience is anecdotal. So we're going to go ahead and toss that one. So it is a religious symbol. You got me on that one. It offends my senses. Get over it. It's just a cross. I am almost reluctant to say this, but it's almost as if there is a sense of sacredness being held there. And I know I used that word before, but sacred isn't really a word that should be tossed about among us non-believers, us faithless people. Because sacred is a statement of having an irrational reverence to something. You hold it sacred for supernatural reasons or divine reasons or something like that. So having the same adverse reaction, it sort of hints to that same principle. You're holding its lack of being there sacred. It's just a cross. There's no why are we worried about the superstition behind it? Why are we worried about it being there? And I reiterate, it's not saying that you're going to hell. They don't have a placard out there saying God hates fags. They don't have any of this stuff that is painful and wounding to other people or has a negative impact. It's just a cross. That's it. So to go out for a humanist people, okay, let me go on to further explain humanism as I know it. We observe that, because I am a humanist, among other things, among many things, I fall into the category of a humanist. We observe moral and ethical correctness not only for the masses, but for the individual as well. Um, the masses are not being told anything negative by this cross. The mass non-believers are not being told anything negative by this cross. This cross is not inciting anything negative for you. So we're going to push the mass out. So the individual, what does it do? What individual does it affect? Well, the only individuals it affects is the ones that put it up there. And the ones that put up there did it for the reason of they lost their son. That it happened 2 years difference. So, it was 2 years previous. I'm still struggling with certain losses a year ago. Struggling with a couple of losses still. Some that happened even longer than that. And it doesn't just... the pain never goes away. You only adapt to it. That's really it. You don't lose the pain, you just slowly numb yourself to it. But the pain is still there. You've just got a coping mechanism to go with it. And this is somebody's coping mechanism. And because it's not affecting anybody, for it to be there, who's it affecting? You say, well, I don't have the right to put mine up there. Okay. Well, whenever you have a need to put one up there and it gets taken down, you're being affected then, sure. But it's not the people that get to do it that's affecting you. It's the people that are stopping you from doing it that's affecting you. That's who's affecting you. So attacking the people that got away with it, I don't understand this, watching other people and saying, well, they get it, so why don't I? And then it seems childish to me. It seems childish. Let me equate it for you. You have some kids playing in the schoolyard. One of them has a bag of candy. Has a little bag of candy, a little bag of M&Ms. We'll say a little bag of M&Ms. And is trying to enjoy the M&Ms. Well, none of the other kids have M&Ms, and one of them finally gets pissed off and says, well, if I can't have them, then nobody can. And shreds their M&Ms. Just takes the M&Ms away from them, spills the bag all over the place, starts stomping on M&Ms. Somebody made a point, 2 wrongs don't make a right. This is 2 wrongs. You know, maybe the kid shouldn't have brought it to the schoolyard without the ability to share with others. So, I mean, if you have kids or you hang around kids, you know that that's really something that happens. I mean, one kid can't have it. If one kid can't have it, then nobody gets to have it. As far as treats or, rewards or anything like that. Everybody wants to have an advantage of it, and you're going to have a right on your hands if you don't adhere to that rule. But destroying the one that has, because the ones that have not don't, that's destructive. It's negative. There are 2 sides to hate. I've given it a lot of thought. I have hate on my knuckles. I have very good reasons to hate. And so does everybody else, even if they don't acknowledge it. There are 2 sides to hate. The one that everybody's most accustomed to and often equates hate to is destruction. Destruction is, in fact, negative, sure. Or is usually negative. I mean, there are very rare instances when destruction through hatred is beneficial and healthy. The part of hatred that people kind of gloss over, ignore, or don't even associate is change. Change is where hatred takes on a positive role. So, if these people saw this cross and hated that they have to look at the cross, what they should be doing is changing it so that everybody has the same benefit, not taking the benefit away from the few that have it. Because more often than not, the people that are enjoying the benefit aren't doing it maliciously or underhandedly or even trying to take it away from anybody else. I can almost promise you, I submit that there is a strong possibility that any person who is mourning loss, that sees somebody else needing to mourn loss, and they want to do it in their own private way, with their own symbols, I have a hard time believing that they will have a problem with it. I would need to see evidence on the contrary, because that is a very unempathetic thing to do. And whenever you have a deep and emotional personal loss, you're full of empathy. You may not, a lot of people, some people may not actually observe that, but the fact of the matter is, you actually have that empathy because you are experiencing it. Therefore, whenever somebody else is experiencing it, you can empathize with it, even if you don't completely understand how they're dealing with it. And dealing with it. The problem that somebody mentioned that, this isn't how I deal with mourning or loss. Okay, well, whose way of dealing with loss should we go with? Yours, mine, Joe down the street? Whose version of loss should we all adhere to? That's not really a good argument. That's I'm kind of tired. I just got off of work, but I can't quite name the fallacy there. But it's a bad argument. Bad fallacy. Submitting that you don't do it, therefore nobody else should. That's back to that whole schoolyard child bullying the person that has because they have not. Just because you don't do it that way doesn't make your way the perfect way, nor does it mean everybody else should adhere to your way. That they'd litter the side of the road en masse. We haven't actually taken that big of a step until the past few decades towards a public life. Us atheists. Past few decades is where we've really started to ramp it up. So, in times previous, and even now, because now would still be an echo, a strong echo of times before that. I don't recall seeing the roadside littered with crosses. That's not a solid argument. Sorry, you're gonna have to try again. That does not resonate as a solid qualifying argument to discredit my own. Because sure, you can find them in certain very unique places. Usually places where the road is dangerous. And truth be told, that sometimes ends up being a notation to city officials that they need to fix the damn road. when somebody that works for the city drives by there and sees that this roadway has had a lot of deaths on it due to all the crosses, this is a public marker of something bad happening. Somebody said that it's stupid people doing stupid things, so they got what they deserve, or something to that effect. I'm sure I'm misquoting it. Yeah, I'm certainly misquoting them, but the suggestion was that they died because they were being stupid. Where's your grounds for that? That is not a solid. That's not even remotely a solid argument. In fact, it's ad hominem. You are insulting the qualities of the person in ways that are not relevant to what's going on, and trying to make them relevant. You don't even know the person. So whenever you wildly try to character assassinate them, you pretty much discredit yourself. As Hitch would say, might as well declare victory at that point. Not that this is something that I want to have a victory over, so to speak. It's more or less something I want to bring up because I think it deserves to be analyzed and questioned. Why would